Hello everybody, welcome to the I Am IT Geek YouTube channel, and in case you have forgotten, my name is Shabazz Dan, I am the IT Geek. It has been a minute since my last video. I think it might have been November. So I have been absent, not doing a lot on my YouTube for a few months now, and there's a few different reasons for that which I'll go into. Before that though, Happy New Year to everybody, and I hope everybody's having a good start to 2023. So I did take a little bit of a break from YouTube. A couple of reasons. Illness, first of all. You know, everybody gets ill, and I'm sure everybody has been ill over the last few years quite a bit. But I came down and the family did with some flu in like kind of mid-November, so we kind of took a break then. And I'll be honest, I was quite exhausted by then, towards the end of the year, and I'd always planned on not doing anything in December. So I took advantage of it, didn't do anything. So we have kind of, for those who keep kind of follow my YouTube channel, for those subscribers, you know that we're kind of midway through the AZ700 series, myself and Mohammed Sajid. So we are working diligently in the background to start recording. So we're going to start recording again next week, so we will start that back up again. But I thought in the meantime I would do some videos around some tech book reviews, because Packt were kind enough to send me some books just before Christmas, and I took those away with me. I went away with family to Pakistan, which had a great time. It was literally zero tech apart from the books, and really feel refreshed. I'm really raring to go. So really looking forward. We've got a lot of things planned. I've already kind of reached out to a few people in the community that I'm going to be collaborating with, hopefully at some point this year. I'm not going to give too much away, but you will have to keep an eye out for my videos, just in my tweets and my LinkedIn, obviously. But yeah, so I'm just going to start doing some book reviews. I've got 4 books I'm going to review. So today is going to be the first video, but I'll just go into give you an overview of the books I'm going to be reviewing over the next few weeks. So this is the first one. So this is the first edition, Simplifying Hybrid Cloud Adoption with AWS. So this is by Frankie Costa Negro. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. So this is Simplifying Hybrid Cloud Adoption with AWS. So that's the book I'm going to be reviewing today in this video. I've also got the one I'm going to be doing next after this is Certified Kubernetes Administrator CKA Exam Guide. So this is again more of an exam guide into this specific exam around. This is Melanie Quinn. Again, hope I pronounced that right. So I'm going to be reviewing that in my second video. We've then got another first edition. So this is called Demystifying Ansible Automation Platform by Sean Sullivan. So again, another topic which I'm not very comfortable with, if I'm honest with you, but again, had a lot of fun reading it, and I'm going to do a review on that in my third video. And to finish off, we're going into some Kubernetes. So managing Kubernetes resources using Helm, and this is a dual sort of written by Andrew Block and Austin Dewey. So these are 4 Packt books I've been given. They were kind enough to send me, and again, I had so much fun reading them. I do like, as I'm getting older, I'm kind of enjoying topics that I've not read before. And again, reading them from a high level, these are topics that I'm going to kind of learn more on and start doing day to day. But they are topics that obviously I hear about, and it's interesting, reading kind of from a high level these sort of books. Again, the reason why I'm doing these sort of book reviews is I don't think nobody else is really doing them, so I thought it'd be a good way of helping the sort of the community and in kind of if you're interested in the books. And also, as you're well aware, I offered 2 books last year. And I know how hard it is, how difficult a process it is, and how much hard work it is. So I want to help raise the book's platform, and I want to help raise the sort of advertisement and of these books, the hard work that these authors are doing, and give them the recognition. None of my, just to be upfront, none of my sort of comments are going to be negative to diminish the work that the books have done. But I am going to be honest if it's something that I feel could be different, or I have. If you look at my previous videos, I have done that. So let's get started with this one. So like I said, in this video, we're going to be reviewing the Packt book, first edition, which is called Simplifying Hybrid Cloud Adoption with AWS. So this is by Frankie Costa Negro, and this is looking at sort of it focuses on a specific service, if I'm honest with you, around sort of hybrid cloud and AWS. So AWS is something that I'm not familiar. I've done it at a basic level, And I know they've got a shed load of services and they like their cookie service names to do AWS. Again, as I have done with my other sort of videos with the book reviews, I'm going to review through the Packt portal where I've got a subscription. So straight away, when I saw this book, obviously it's to do with hybrid cloud adoption, but I'm always interested to understand at what level is the author writing this for. A lot of the books I've reviewed are exam topics, so there's a certain level, like an administrator level, you need to have at least a few years experience. This one, straight off the bat, this is for architects. So the book is intended for data center architects. So straight away, in my opinion, you're talking 10 years plus experience with data centers and architecting, and also a fair bit of experience with AWS. Because as we'll see as we go along, this book uses a lot of the language and a lot of sort of terminology that is probably more advanced. So for a beginner, even though, and I said this is AWS Outpost that is the main focus of the book, because that's obviously the service for hybrid cloud adoption in AWS. And even though it does, the book is called Simplifying, so it's not, this is the author's way. The book is trying to make it easy, and they do, but definitely as we'll go through, I'll explain that. But it is an advanced book, so unless you are comfortable with architecture principles, and also AWS as a platform, this probably book's not for you, but it's definitely an interesting read for me. I've got architecture experience. I don't have the level of AWS experience needed for this book, but it was still interesting reading. Being a Microsoft guy, it's always interesting reading an AWS kind of topic. So that I can relate to the Microsoft world, if that makes sense. That's always interesting, and that's something I did find very interesting. So again, we have an overview as most of the Packt books do around what all the chapters cover. And again, I'm going to talk about this. There's chapter 3 which I'm going to highlight, which I had a bit of a problem with, but I really do like the way this book covers important aspects like security and monitoring. And I'll go into a bit more detail about those shortly. So as we move down into chapter 1, once we've done all the introductions, it starts to introduce the actual service, which is AWS Outpost. So again, this is very much an introductory chapter. A lot of text, and what I will say is this book is not a one-time read. You don't read. This is a book that you're not going to read once. This is a reference book, in my opinion. So if this is a service or a topic that I'm working in day to day, this is a book I would use as a reference. I'd have it on my bookshelf, and I'd be looking at it every few weeks to kind of just look at certain aspects. Because again, it's theoretical, very theoretical. And as we go through the chapters, there are more images and diagrams, which are really good, and loads of sort of code. With CLI code for AWS, which is really good, but in general, there's a lot of theory in here, and a lot of how to do this, how to do that, which is again really good. But I think this is more of a reference book. This is a book you keep for a while, and keep on referring to. So again, it goes on about the AWS Outposts, introduces that as a service and a technology, and as I said, straight away we're looking at hybrid architecture tenants as well, so it explains a lot about that. But again, very theoretical. So I think again, this is something that you're not gonna read once and put away. You're definitely gonna keep on referring to it. So again, it keeps on in chapter 2. It keeps the focus on this AWS Outpost because we've only had an introduction. Really, we really need to understand more about it. So in chapter 2, again, very theoretical. We have some images, but it goes on about the rack space, the sort of racking in AWS Outpost, the sort of rack it has. It shows you an image of it. Again, looks at the sort of rack power shelf within this service, and gives us some a table, so it breaks up the text quite a bit. But because it's hybrid cloud, you're going to be looking at a lot of sort of physical kit as well. So it talks us through that. So we're starting to go into a lot more detail now into AWS Outposts, a lot more advanced detail, looking at networking. So again, you need a good level of networking to really read this book. And again, just a lot of text. Finally, we start to see some diagram images which help break it up. And then again, this is something that I would refer to over and over again. in a book if I was, especially if I'm doing this sort of work day in and day out, week to week, and I'm doing this for clients. I'll be referring to these sort of diagrams and using these diagrams in my sort of work. So again, it's something you've got to keep referring to, in my opinion. Now, I mentioned about chapter 3 and how I have a slight problem with it. And it's not it's not to say it's a bad chapter, the information's solid. But for me, pricing specifically changes. It does with any public cloud vendor. So I just think that putting it in a book that you're going to kind of want to probably refer to is it's going to be, it might be defunct in 6 months' time, and it'll need updating. So as a source of reference for the pricing, I wouldn't be comfortable using it, if I'm honest. And again, we have some really good examples of where it goes in, shows us through the platform, AWS platform, and how to order. Again, I know from a Microsoft perspective, they're always changing names, they're always changing the sort of portals. I don't think AWS do it as much, so it might not be as much of a problem. But again, showing us images in the portal, this may change, certain names may change. So I think with the pricing and the sort of walking us through the ordering, the ordering bit is okay. It's the pricing which I had more of a problem with, because pricing changes. So I think the pricing options as well could change over time. So this section for me might become defunct sooner than the other bits, in my opinion. That's the only problem I really had with it. Again, very informative, and I did like the use of the diagrams and the images of the actual platform, the AWS portal in here. And again, going through the steps, again, which you can follow. And this is something you're going to refer to, in my opinion, over and over again. Very informative, and this chapter was much easier to follow, if I'm honest with you. And then, as I said, we get into some actual AWS sort of CLI stuff, so the Cloud Shell and the actual commands. The more you go through the book, you're going to find more of these, a lot of commands, which is great again for knowledge and for a reference. Which is why I think it's, like I said, a book that you're going to read over and over again, or at least sections of it. So as we go along, that's obviously the pricing, ordering, and installation piece. We then get on to a section which I really did enjoy, and I felt was probably the key section for me, is the security monitoring and maintenance. So it goes through, in chapter 4, we're looking at sort of the operations and working of Outpost, AWS Outpost. So it breaks that down into, the instances, the local gateways, and sort of the shared resources. And again, very command heavy, which I think is great, especially when you want to try and automate, and how important automation is in public cloud now. So yeah, really thought that a lot of informative information here, and allows you to follow along as well in your own sort of test tenants if you have this sort of kit available. So again, really liked this chapter. Thought it was very informative, and it's interesting to play with these sort of scripts on your own sort of tenants. And again, looking at the security of AWS Outpost and the hybrid cloud with AWS, I thought was very important. Data protection, the IAM, again, I think I've said this before, but for me, the most important aspect from a security perspective is IAM, the identity, because you use that for everything, and it's no different with AWS. So again, another really, really informative section. Very important to have this in a book that's talking about a specific service, which this is. And then again, the monitoring. Once it's all in there, we need to be able to monitor it and water and feed it. So this is where we get into stuff like CloudWatch. And again, this is what I said at the beginning. You need to have a good understanding of Amazon services, AWS services, for you to read this book. If you don't, this is probably not for you. So really good, loads of these images. I love these sort of images that show you through the portal. I try to use a lot of these in my book. I think it's really helpful for people who are reading it. So a very good job on this chapter for me. Again, goes through CloudTrail as well, another service within AWS for monitoring and logging. So you need to have a good understanding of that. Getting towards the end of the sort of the back end of the book, we're going about the maintenance of it. So it covers hardware and software maintenance, because it is hybrid cloud. There's going to be a hardware aspect to it, and obviously there's that sort of public cloud aspect of it as well, which you need to manage. And it goes through some troubleshooting. I'm always there's a couple of books that I've read like this that talk about specific services, and I always felt like a troubleshooting section. I think I might have said it in one of the AVD books that I did a review on. It might have been Ryan's, where I don't think there was a troubleshooting section. I said I thought it'd just finish the book off, because that was an amazing book, and I think the author's covered it in here, and I really like it. I really like reference books that give you ideas or information around possible things you can troubleshoot. And again, this is why I say this is a reference book. This is something you're going to use over and over again. And as we get into the final chapter, and this was one that I felt was I didn't expect it, if I'm honest with you. And what the author does here is gives you more references, giving you areas where you can go, like white papers, videos, blogs, and look at more information. The author's not claiming this book is the be all and end all of this topic. They know that there's loads more resources, and they're helping you with it. Like I said, this is a reference book giving you all the links. So very much a very interesting read. And as I said, the only slight issue I had with it was the sort of pricing element within chapter 3, and I just think because that's relative to change. So I think maybe probably it'll become old quite quickly. But again, like I said, great read. Well done to the author. Well done to Frankie. Big shout out to Frankie. You can just about see it. And I really did enjoy reading it. It was I did a bit of AWS about 10 years ago when it's kind of started to come. I did most of the infrastructure though, so the infrastructure as a service element, EC2 instances and networking and stuff like that. But it was nice to read about, again, another topic that I'm not really familiar with. I always find it interesting. Wasn't that big a book either, so it was quite breezed through it. But yeah, thank you for watching. Definitely recommend this book if your line of work is with sort of AWS and sort of hybrid cloud. I would recommend this book 100%. It's a great read. It's a reference book. You don't buy it and just read it once. You will buy it and keep on referring to it. You'll get your money's worth because you'll have it as a reference. So definitely recommend it. Great job by Frankie. Another great job by Packt. I will put the link to the book where you can buy it on the description. I'll put a link to Frankie's Twitter if he has one, and his LinkedIn or any socials that I can find. But yeah, again, I'll obviously put a link to my socials as well. So thank you for watching. Welcome back. I'm hopefully really excited about this year. 2023 is going to be a very exciting year for me personally. I can't go into anything to do with it really. If there's a few people I've told about it, but very exciting year. Looking forward to it. I've got loads of content planned as well, so I really appreciate your support. Please give the video a like. Give me a comment about how you find it, and also don't forget to subscribe. I didn't manage to hit that 1,000 subscriber count for 2022, but we don't always hit our targets. But I'm really looking forward to trying to hit it in 2023. So thank you for watching. Up until next time, thank you and goodbye.